So in the previous videos we've had a look at creating a scratch track, changing some of the sounds around, but now let's look a little bit more at this new instrument, Groove Agent SE4. So in terms of an instrument, yes, it is a very reliable and I guess MPC style based player, but it's also a pretty killer drum sampler. So if we have a look at the blank template in front of us, you can see we've got the pads, but if we go into our media bay, you can see we can also drag and drop, as I said before, different samples over. But what we want to do now is actually work with a whole sample. So if you go through, you can see that I can basically play different samples. When I find one I like, I can just drag it straight over. Yep, so we can close the media bay now, and now if we click on this, okay, so it's a little bit slow. So the first thing we're going to do is put audio warp onto music, and now that should be in sync. It'll help if I started on the first beat, but you get the idea. We can actually change the trigger point as well. But the point of this exercise is to show you how easy it is to actually slice up different samples using Groove Agent SE4. So as soon as we change from our sample to our slice window, you can see the window goes dark and we've got these hit points. So the first thing we need to do is select Create Slices, and instantly you can see we can actually use our cursor to scroll through these different slices. So it straight away slice the track up, and then there's a couple of different settings here that we can use. So you can see we've got transient, so it's slicing it based on the transient. Then we've got transient and grid. We can change our grid setting very easily, and then we can also move the threshold up. I like to use transient. Well, for this one it kind of makes sense. So we've got that set, and now that we've got these slices into their own regions, we can play them individually on a keyboard. So you can see, well, take the mute button off, or we can now actually pick up on, if we go back to our main window here, this guy here, we can drop this straight over into Groove Agent. So now Groove Agent is triggering those samples in time. So you can see it's just playing them sequentially there, which means that what it's actually playing is exactly the same as the first sample that we dragged in there. But now we've got all these core components and slices, we can go and start working with them. For instance, let's take this first kick drum. Let's say we want to, I guess, edit that a little bit. So let's go back to our main window. You can see we click on it, we can move over, well, let's actually go to pitch. So we can drop the pitch if we want to give it a little bit more depth. There you go. So any of these that we select, we can move around. So maybe you want to raise the snare a little bit. Maybe you want to put a little bit of reverb on the snare. So then let's go to amp. Let's turn the auxiliary all the way up. Let's go back to mixer. I showed you this a little bit before, but let's put a reverb on it. And you can hear we've got a reverb on that snare. So really easy to edit. If we want to put a little bit of tape saturation on it, we can do that as well. So you can see we could put some drive on it. So let's have a listen to the sample. Okay, so maybe you want to dirty this kick up a little bit. So let's go back to edit, and now let's go to filter, and let's change the filter or turn it on. So let's say hard clip and put a bit of distortion over the top of it. If we want, we could go to the snare. Yeah, the snare here, and then go to pitch, and we could maybe change the envelope, and now again. Okay, so you can see how easy it is just to take one sample, slice that sample up into different sections, and then start editing different sections. The other thing we can do in terms of editing slices is we can go in between slices. So we can do it this way, or we can actually highlight the sample slices and then add effects and filter each different slice. Okay, so that's one way of breaking up samples. I've already shown you how you can actually import your own drum sounds and create your own drum kit. There's only one thing left to do, and that's actually send them out into their own instruments or own instrument channels, I guess, in Cubase, so that each instrument has its own set channel on the mixer setting in Cubase. So I'm just going to go quickly over to my racks section here. There's another way or a faster way to do this. oops, sorry, there it is. So let's go down to Groove Agent SE, and let's activate all outputs. You can see you can activate individual outputs if you want, but now that we've got all of our outputs activated, I can simply click on this and now go over to my pad. So there's my kick drum, and then go to main, and you can see mixer. Let's say that's master. Let's make that out 2, out 3, yep, out 4, out 5, and so on. You're getting the idea. So now that we've done this, let's just do 8 of them. Oops, it would help if I could count for a start. There we go. Up to 8. Okay, so if we hit play. Okay, so now let's go to our mixer, our mix console. There it is, and we should be able to see these all coming through their own individual outputs. There you go. So let's have a look at this. Let's just zoom in a little bit and take our transport out of the road. So now that we've got this, we might actually want to start putting different effects over the top of it. So that's our kick track. You can see it's just peaking a bit there because I upped the volume of it. Okay, so let's very quickly just go to strips, and in strips, let's say load preset, and let's type in kick. Right, so let's say we want tight electronic. So instantly that snare, sorry, that kick will have changed. So that's our kick. Let's go to output 2. Okay, so that's a hi-hat. We probably don't need to do too much to that, but if we wanted to, we could put a compressor and a limiter over it. So that's our snare. So let's go to channel strip, load channel strip, and let's type in snare. By the way, all of these channel strips have been developed by a guy called Alan Morgan, who did 9 Inch Nails, Taylor Swift, and has a lot of US and worldwide production credits. So they're really good quality channel strips. And of course, the advantage of having channel strips in Cubase is that they're right there for you to use. So they're actually in the mix console, rather than having to go and find them. As I zoom out on the mix console, you can see they're there. Also, if I click on my E button, you can see they're right here and very easy to get a hold of and to edit and to actually move around. Whoops. Okay, so loads of different options there. So now that I've got that set up as a drum kit and it's sent to individual drum sends, I can now come into Cubase and just right mouse click and then say save track preset, and let's save this as drum kit 1. Now that I have that saved, every time I load up a new track in Cubase, all I need to do is add an instance of Groove Agent SE4 and then reset that preset or reload that preset, and then every one of my configurations will be saved in there. So Groove Agent SE4 gives you loads of routing opportunities or abilities, and the other thing you've got is the ability to edit all of your sounds, load samples in, and edit those samples very easily.